Breakforth Canada is this country's largest renewal ministry, bringing refreshment and encouragement to people of faith all across the country and now all over the world. And we're delighted to have with us the co-director and the co-founder, Arlen Salte, with us today. Would you please welcome him to 100 Huntley Street? Thank you. What's happening as we look at renewal? And let's talk about the context of Canada these days. We hear about, yes, it's difficult, and yes, it's hard, and there are tough moments and tough times and tough seasons, but there's something that's so encouraging about the Lord allowing us to live in that kind of context as we are people of the light.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it like out there for you are you getting stories of people that leave your conferences and go back and they're beginning to see, to borrow a phrase, points of light in their own communities?
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that I'm so excited by is that, you know, maybe the word subversive can sound negative, but it's really not. You know, Paul did it when he talked about other gods. I see there are many other gods as a common connecting point to talk about ministry. And so in the same way, we see a lot of our people going out and connecting with their local community. I love this new generation because they are not just insulating themselves off to the side, they're actually connecting in with a local community. For instance, our son, Jared, and his wife, Bethany, they have a band called the Royal Foundry, becoming very well known in the mainstream right now. In fact, they just won a contest. The lowest prize is $50,000, and we find out this weekend if it's $100,000. So, I mean, they're really taking over, but they're in the mainstream. But they are sharing their faith in the darkest places. They talk about some of the places where they're back in the green room, where they're sharing with other musicians who are doing things that are not good, right? But they are taking those opportunities to share the faith. I am so excited about this generation that is actually taking that seriously.
That's so encouraging because it's happening in the arts, it's happening in sports. God is at work.
He is.
And it's fascinating. One of the things about Huntley Street I do enjoy is hearing them, those stories and meeting those people like you and members of your family. What's next for the organization or for the ministry of Breakforth? What's on the horizon for you as a leader, a visionary? What's God sharing with you, and you're going to try to position the ministry accordingly?
Well, once again, Breakforth Canada 2016 is coming up, and that's the very last weekend of January, and you can go breakforthcanada.com to learn out more about that.
It'll be on the screen right now.
It will be on the screen, yeah. And I think, you know, our focus on that, continuing to bring the church together to renew and equip them for the sake of making a difference in their community is really what's on the horizon now. That is what is on our heart.
Yeah. You mentioned family, your wife and your kids. Family is very, very important to you. You and I are in a place in life where we're thinking about legacy of faith, posterity issues. Speak to how important that is and maybe advice you might have for parents who are in formation now with their kids, a little few years or decades before you and me, what you would encourage them to do looking back and encouraging them to look ahead.
Well, I'd say one thing is, you know, I'm rather dense. And God has used different wake-up calls for me. One of them was when I just spoke about Jared a while ago. I was booked to go on a tour for 6 weeks down the east coast of the United States. 2 weeks before that, he was born, but he just about died in childbirth. My wife just about died in childbirth, and God spoke to me and he said, "Dense Arlen, your priorities are twisted because you're on the road all the time." At that time, I was on the road 250 days a year. I was gone away from family, and this is for years on end. And he said, "Arlen, it's time to switch that off and focus in on your family. It's also time to make sure that if you have limited time, that it is focused with intentionality on faith issues. It's also important to ask essential questions." And so what I would say is, don't be afraid of the questions. Questions are a wonderful opportunity to explore the meaning of truth and spirituality and the essence of the gospel with your children. Our other son went through a real questioning time when he was studying the sciences. You know, how about evolution? Where does this fit in? We had some of the best Bible studies ever, because we said, let's sit down with Lee Strobel and let's act,
Sure.
well, not him directly, but one of his books.
The resources, yeah.
Yeah, Case for the Creator. We sat down and we had Bible study together. Don't be afraid of the questions, but do take the time. Live with intentionality, because the reality is your children will graduate, they'll be gone, and you have very limited time to impact their life.
Great wisdom. Thank you so very, very much. Let me ask you this, and I hope it's a yes. I'm going to put you on the spot, but with your next Breakforth conference gathering, can we get some updates while it's happening for 100 Huntley Street and be able to share it all across Canada?
Absolutely.
We'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Arlen, thank you. Please thank him for his service to Jesus Christ.